What's up, everybody? Reacher is back with its second season, and they treated us to three great episodes to kick it off. I will be going over all three episodes here in this review, and there will be a decent amount of spoilers for them as well. So if you haven't seen the new episodes yet, save this video and come on back later. However, if you've only seen one episode or maybe the first two episodes, but not all three of them, you can still watch part of this video now if you want and come back for the rest later. Just make sure you pay attention to which section of the video you're in while you're watching. With that out of the way, let's get into the show. Episode 1 started off just perfectly. Reacher's buying new clothes at a thrift shop, and then he goes out and helps a random stranger in need by taking out the guy who's holding their kid hostage. And I mean, it was quite literally the perfect way to start this season off. While at that ATM, he gets an SOS message from Neely through the ATM receipt, which I thought was just brilliant, as he heads off to New York to meet up with her. When he gets there, it's revealed someone is going after members of the 110th, Reacher's old army unit, and we also find out it's been exactly 2 years, 17 months, and 19 days since the events of season 1, which of course Reacher, the man with no phone, no home, the Wanderer, as he called himself, would know the exact amount of days it's been. And I mean, I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. He's just such a good character, and Alan Ritchson does such a good job of portraying him. The first member of Reacher's old unit to go down, though, is Franz. As well, it's all going on. We see flashbacks to their time in the 110th, and I really liked how they were used in the show. It's not overdone, and it's placed almost perfectly every time. A bit later, after they've done some investigating, they return to their hotel where Neely checked in under the name Sarah Connor, which is a reference to the Terminator, and it's made even better because Robert Patrick, who was in those movies, is the villain this season. But when they get back to their rooms, they're both trashed and they find O'Donnell in there after not being able to reach him. Those three head to Swan's house where they find his dog who died from dehydration, and this was so damn sad. I I can do humans dying, but when dogs start dying, I get that same rage as John Wick and Reacher and all them, and I go psycho. So that's a brief overview of how episode 1 went down, and there's a couple more things I do want to talk about, but I really like the setup for the season. Fresh story, pretty new locations, even though we went to New York in season 1 briefly, and some great new additions to the cast. But somehow, the main man himself, Alan Ritchson, got even bigger than he was in season 1. I mean, this dude is humongous. He's also just getting better and better as Reacher and as an actor, really. The subtle emotions of this kind of hard shell character are so well portrayed, and he was already pretty good with them in season 1, but it feels like he's perfected them now in season 2. I'm sure I'll say this multiple times in this video and throughout my reviews for the season, but this is legitimately one of my favorite shows out there. It honestly has a chance to be my favorite show of the year. Watch out, Succession, which I guess put an asterisk next to because it finishes in January, but we'll count it for 2023 just for the sake of things. Now let's move on to episode 2, which was even better than the first episode. This episode, we meet NYPD detective Guy Russo. He's the one on the case of the dead members of the 110th, but after season 1, Reacher is hidden first, asking questions later when it comes to being followed, and he walks up to this dude's car and, no joke, kicks a hood and sets off the airbag, which I didn't even know was humanly possible. But I guess when you look like the Incredible Hulk, anything's possible. So since he accidentally assaulted an NYP detective, they decide to head to Atlantic City, where Sanchez and Orozco, two other members of the former 110th, ran their private investigation service. As they go to find a new ride, Reacher spots Dixon, another member, at the rent-a-car line, and we've got a fourth member of the 110th safe and alive. When they're in Jersey, they find out that Sanchez, Orozco, and Franz were all working on a case together, and that Swan was also somehow involved in that too, but it's not clear how the latter was involved. We also start to learn that Reacher and Dixon kind of had a little thing going on, and it was at first like, I was like, no, wait, what about Roscoe? But then you see it start to unfold. Surrenda Swan, who plays Dixon, starts to get rolling with her performance, and man, she's great. I think this Reacher and Dixon fling might already be better than Reacher and Roscoe were, and I love those two. After a killer night of poker, the two head out for a late night walk where they take on three of Langston's thugs, Langston's Robert Patrick's character, and then hide them in cement. It's so damn cool. After they take care of business, they call Langston, from one of the goons' phones and send a wave of fear through him, as it seems he didn't expect the 1/10th to be much of a problem, and it looks like he underestimated them big time. Unfortunately, they learned that Sanchez and Orozco are already dead, so now it's just the four of them confirmed to be alive, and Swan is MIA. This episode saw some really good additions to the cast, as we got a little Peacemaker reunion with Robert Patrick and Watwin Monroe. I hope I pronounced his name right. The lovely Serinda Swan, who I realized was a Medusa from that god-awful Inhuman show, and Dominic Lombardozzi, who's the NYP detective. I also think the action in this season is already clearing that of the first season, and I think it kind of had to. In season one, you kind of just had Reacher as the muscle man, and then you have, the couple small town cops who do have really cool scenes, but now you've got four members of his special army unit, and they've delivered the level of action I'd expect with a team like that. And really quick before I get into the third and final episode of the season 2 premiere, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, I'd appreciate it greatly if you'd subscribe to the channel, both to show your support in the freest and easiest way, but also so you can stay up to date with my coverage of Reacher and a ton of other new movies and shows weekly. I'll soon also have a Discord open for subscribers, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you can join the community when it's open. Alright, let's get back to the show. In the third episode, we get to see some of Franz's interrogation and then his fall to his death from that helicopter in the woods in New York. It's a pretty brutal scene, but luckily we didn't have to see him land up close or anything, but still, he got roughed up real bad before plummeting from that chopper. Back with the four surviving members of the 1/10th, we see them return to New York after Atlantic City was a dead end, and Reacher's arrested almost immediately. The detective he KO'd, Russo, returns, and boy do I love this guy. A great Italian, and I just love everything about him. His accent, the rift between him and Reacher, but also the team up between the two, because it's kind of like season one, but he's not as tolerant of Reacher's shenanigans as Finley and Roscoe were. In fact, the crew goes to a house of one of their hitmen from episode 2 and just toss a pipe bomb right in there before clearing it out, and this was quite possibly the coolest scene of this entire show, both seasons. That sequence is then followed by another awesome sequence where Reacher chases down another one of them on foot as Neely directs him from the rooftop, and then he throws a goddamn grill at this guy's windshield, and the driver has a heart attack. It just doesn't get much better than that. To end the episode, they head over to New Age, the company that sent them to that house in the first place, as it was a setup, and break into it by driving straight through the front door. They give them a taste of their own medicine, and as they ransack the building, looking for anything and everything that'll help them with their case, and while doing that, Reacher finds a company picture where Swan, one of their members from the 1/10th, is right next to Langston, Robert Patrick's character, who's the villain. I really like that final bit there. Obviously, it's not clear if shit went down after his time in the army and he ended up on the wrong side of things, or maybe he was working at the company undercover. Either way, the mystery of the 1/10th got a hell of a lot more complicated, and I can't wait for next week's episode. The performances this season have been really good so far, and somehow Alan Ritchson, Maria Sten, Serinda Swan, and Sean Sipos have phenomenal chemistry and really do make you feel like they served together in the army. It's been real fun watching them work together so far. And so that'll do it for my review of the first 3 episodes of Reacher Season 2. It was just a great start to the season, and as you probably noticed, I don't really have any complaints about it, so far at least, which is so rare for me personally. But let me know what you thought about the first 3 episodes down in the comments below, and make sure you have a great day.